Hello everyone! So I asked Facebook to see what they wanted me to do, and to my surprise a lot of people said skin retouching. And I'm by no means a professional skin retoucher, and this is probably not the right way of doing things, but this is how I like to do things. I always like making a duplicate layer, that way I can go back and forth onto the original and see what all changes that I've made and use that as a reference. I usually like to start with the skin first, and since my model already has great skin, the easiest way for me to see everything is to make a curves layer and pull down the middle. That way you can see everything, and this is a non-destructive layer, which means I can go back and forth and it won't affect the images. This is by far the most time-consuming part, but it is the most important. And it's good to have a good base to work off from. That way later in frequency separation, it's a lot easier to retouch the unevenness of the skin. It just takes time and patience to get used to seeing all the little details, but over time it'll get a lot easier. The main thing I look for is bumps or scars, stray hair, wrinkles, and pretty much around the eyes is my main focus. I'm usually really picky when editing around the eyes, so stray hair that's sticking out like this on the eyebrows, I will usually retouch it. And how I do it is with the stamp tool, and then after that I'll kind of even it out with the patch tool. If you're unsure about something, then a good rule of thumb is that if it is not there after 2 weeks, then you should remove it. Things like beauty or birthmarks should be left on, and if they wanted it removed, usually they would tell you before or after the shoot. And if you're still unsure after, then just ask. I'm just going to quickly fix the hair around the face with the patch tool, and then I'll even out the skin tone later in frequency separation. Since this is a glamour shoot, I'm going to clean up the eyebrows a little bit more and just make the eyeshadow pop. And usually I create a duplicate layer because I'm going to be burning the areas around the eyebrows. And then after that, I usually take down the opacity just a little bit just to make sure it fades in a little better and it's not too harsh. After that, I will be creating a gray layer, and this helps to neutralize the effects of the dodge and burn, because usually when you work directly on the image with dodge and burn, it'll create like this orange or red tint around. I'm just using the highlight tool to create this halo effect in the eye, and I overdid it, so towards the end of the video you'll see me fiddle around and try to fix it and make it more natural looking, but I just kind of left it the way it was because this is just like a really small part of the photo and nobody's going to be seeing it that up close. This next step is really important because you don't want to completely erase somebody's eye bags. So what I did is I created a duplicate layer and I used the patch tool to sample around the areas. And you can see that the skin around is really different. So what I'm going to be doing after is toning down the opacity just to soften up the wrinkles a little bit more. And if I need to go back in to remove some of the lines, then I'll do that. This next step will make a huge difference in your photos, and it is called frequency separation. I learned how to use this through Florn's YouTube channel, and I will link their video down below for you because they will definitely steer you in the right direction, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. They also have the action on their website, so do check them out. And basically what it is it separates the image into two layers. You have the high frequency and the low frequency. The low frequency is the one that I'm working on now. It's slightly blurry, and then you have the high frequency, which is a detail layer. So when I'm working on the low frequency, it doesn't affect any of the details. For example, if there's pores on the face, it won't affect any of that. The reason why I turned off the high frequency is because I like to look at the layers underneath and make sure that the skin is even. As I've mentioned, I like to over-process the skin and then just turn down the opacity. After that is done, I'll start working on the contours. So what I like to do is I like to create a black and white layer, and this will just help me see the shadows a lot better. I learned this trick from Cam Zong, so shout out to you. After that, I'm going to be creating another gray layer and working with the highlights and shadows on this. Some people actually prefer to have 2 different layers, one to work on the highlights and one to work on the shadows. But for me, it's just faster to just do it both on the same. And again, I am really just over exaggerating her features. I will go back in and tone down the layers when I'm done with this step. It's really important to know where the shadows fall. I used to do a lot of charcoal portraits when I was in high school, so that really helped me when learning how to contour and highlight a person's face. One of the features I like to bring out most is the Cupid's bow, and I went a little overboard with this, so I toned down parts of it. Usually when I'm working with the shadows and highlights, I will do the entire image from top to bottom. So next I'll be working on her elbows and arms. And when I'm done with that, I will turn down the opacity. And if there's specific spots where I felt like her highlight and contour was a little too strong, then I'll create a masking layer and just brush over that with black at a low opacity or flow. So next is Liquify, and this really just helps bring the image together. I like to use it to make the hair flow a little better, just so it looks a little bit more put together. And I felt like her hair was a little big for her, so I just toned it down just a little bit. Usually I'll bring out and give people more volume, but in this case we had a lot of volume going on. After I'm done with the hair, I'll make a few minor tweaks throughout the image. Once I am finished with Liquify, I will usually go back and forth on the image to see if there's anything else I would like to change. And I just wanted to bring up the eye just a little bit more. And here I am trying to fix the eye again because I thought it looked super weird, but I eventually just gave up. For the final few steps, I'm just going to look over the image again and fix any small little errors that I might see. And I saw that there was a little bit of a hair underneath her chin and some dust in her hair, so I decided to fix those. And then after that, I gave her a little bit more highlight and depth into her hair. And that is pretty much my workflow for editing beauty and glamour portraits. I know this is definitely not a beginner's tutorial, and I'm sorry about that. This image took me approximately 30 minutes to complete. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to let me know what you guys would like to learn, and I will try my best to make a video. You can download this image and follow along. The link will be listed down below. Please do not watermark or claim this image as your own. It is strictly for educational purposes only. Don't forget to check out Jonah Vang's Facebook to listen to more awesome soundtracks. And this is a collaboration with Mengda Yang and Julia He. Their links will be listed down below.